Hi everyone, this is Kalyan Kumar and welcome back to Chemistry Universe. Now, in this part of the video of isomerism, which is part 12, we'll be dealing with conformational isomers of open chain compounds. So, let's understand briefly what conformational isomers are. Now, when you look at a molecule like ethane, now in ethane, you have a CH3 bonded with a single bond to another CH3 group. The bond between the two carbon atoms is a single bond. Now, it is possible that one CH3 group can rotate freely without rotating the other CH3 group around the single bond. So, let me explain this in detail. So, here you have ethane. As you can see, there are three whites CH3 and three whites here CH3. So, what we do now is I can keep these three CH3 fixed and rotate these three. Can you see? They're being rotated and without moving these three CH3s. So this free rotation gives rise to various orientations. One orientation in which the CH3s of the front and the CH3s of the back, they are exactly superimposing on each other. But when I rotate this by a certain angle, you'll see that I can rotate them by infinite angles and I'll be able to get different types of orientations. Now, what happens in these orientations is that the bond distances change, the electron distances change, repulsions change, and this causes change in potential energy of these molecules. And if you remember the very basic definition of isomers, there are two molecules in which something is different. Because if everything is same, they are the molecules of the same type. But if even one property is different, they are isomers. And in this case, these isomers are having different energies and therefore they will have different stabilities. And that gives rise to what is known as conformational isomers. And the key thing in conformational isomers is that one conformational isomer can be converted to the other one by mere rotation about a carbon-carbon or a nitrogen-nitrogen or a carbon-nitrogen single bond. So any single bond rotation is free, and when that rotation is free enough for the molecule to rotate even at room temperature, you will find that different conformations are exhibited by the molecule, and each of these are conformational isomers and they interconvert by rotation about a single bond. Different three-dimensional spatial arrangements that a molecule can adopt due to rotation about bonds are called conformational isomers or conformations. Alternatively, if two different three-dimensional arrangements of a molecule can be interconverted by rotation merely about single bonds, they are called conformational isomers. Now, to understand this, we need to also understand some basic terms. So let's get some basic terms clear. Now, the first that we talk about is a dihedral or torsional angle. Now, let us consider a molecule containing a minimum of 4 atoms A, B, C, D linked in a chain manner. Now, the angle between the planes containing the atoms A, B, C, for example, here A, B, C, D, okay? So this is the molecule I'm talking about. So A, B, C, D, they are attached in a chain manner. A is attached to B, B is attached to C, C is attached to D. Now the dihedral angle between bond AB and CD is basically the angle which contains the angle between the planes that contain ABC and BCD. So the angle between the planes containing atoms ABC and BCD is called the dihedral angle or torsional angle between the bonds AB and CD. So let's take further look on this. This is the plane that contains ABC. Can you see that? And you'll also notice this is also the plane that contains BCD as well. And the planes coincide. And therefore the angle between them right now is 0. So theta is 0. A simpler way of looking at this would be just you are looking at the dihedral angle between AB and CD, right? So now what you do is bring C up to B. And therefore D will match with A. And these bonds will lie on top of each other. So now the angle between these two bonds, AB and CD, would be the dihedral angle. And since they superimpose on each other, the angle is 0. Let's check one more situation. What do you think is the dihedral angle here? Try and figure this out on your own. Okay, what is the plane that contains ABC? This one. But what is the plane that contains BCD? It is this one. And if you notice, the angle between these two planes, this angle is 120 degree. Because if you remember, I have drawn them with the Sawhorse projection. And again, if you bring C up to B, so the D would come here. So what is the angle between this AB and the CD? It is 120 degree. Let's check one more case. ABC plane, BCD plane, and they are at an angle of 60 degrees. Again, bring the C up to B. The D would come here. It would be the angle bisector of this angle, and therefore it will be 60 degrees. Try this. Now try this on your own. Pause the video. Try this on your own. And you will notice that ABC plane is this. The BCD plane is this. Though they seem to be on the same plane, but remember the planes are oriented in different sides. Or again, bring the C up to B. The D would lie exactly opposite to A. So what is the angle between the AB bond and the CD bond? It would be 180. So the dihedral angle here is 180. Now the second thing that we need to understand is types of strain. Now there are three types of strain that we need to understand. Strain means anything that increases the energy of a molecule. Higher strain means higher energy. Lower strain means lower energy. So anything that causes the energy of a molecule to increase is said to be a strain in it. Okay, the first is called torsional strain. Now, this is the repulsion caused by bonded electrons of the adjacent atoms during eclipsing of bonds. This strain occurs when the dihedral angle between two bonds is 0. So if you look at this model, and let me make sure that they are oriented exactly in alignment with each other, you will notice that this bond, the front bond, is eclipsing the back bond. So these two are exactly in alignment with each other, and their dihedral angle is how much? Is 0 degree, right? So the repulsion caused by these two bonds is said to be causing torsional strain. So whenever the bonds eclipse, whenever the dihedral angle between two bonds is 0, you will find torsional strain. Alright, the next one is called the steric strain. Repulsion caused by the bonded or sometimes the lone pair or non-bonded electrons of large groups when they come close to each other in a conformation. This occurs when large groups have a dihedral angle in between 0 to 60. So, for example, if these two atoms were huge, right now they are hydrogen, but if these two atoms were huge, then they would come very close to each other when they are in the eclipsing formation. Even if I were to rotate this by 60 degrees, even if I were to rotate this by 60 degrees, these two, you will still find there will be some kind of repulsion, steric repulsion between these two. And such steric repulsions are called steric strain. They lead to what is known as steric strain because they again increase the energy of the molecule. The third type, which we will discuss later, is called angle strain, and the reason I'm saying it is later is because it's not found in open chain compounds. It is found in cyclic compounds. The destabilization of a molecule caused by the distortion of bond angles from the prescribed value of hybridization occurs in cyclic molecules. So cyclic molecules is not what we will take up right now. So let's look at first of all conformation of ethane. We just had a look in the model. Let's see in the form of a diagram. So this is the 3 hydrogens of the back carbon. This is the back carbon. Remember, I'm drawing the Newman projection, and the front hydrogens are right on top. And this is the intersection of the 3 bonds of the front carbon, and this is the front carbon. The red circle is the back carbon. And the front 3 hydrogens are eclipsing the back 3. That's why you're not able to see them. And here we know the dihedral angle. So if I were to show you the Sohaus projection, it will be like this. And this is the projection. And here the dihedral angle is 0. We call this eclipsed conformation. Whereas if I rotate by 60 degree, you will notice that now the smallest dihedral angle is 60 degree. Because remember, dihedral angle can be found between any 2 bonds. So the smallest dihedral angle you have now is 60 degree. This is called staggered conformation. And any other angle other than 0 and 60 in the case of ethane is called a skew conformation. Any theta value is skew conformation if it is neither 0 nor 60. So let's understand what is eclipsed in the form of a definition. Eclipsed conformation is a high energy conformation where the bonds on adjacent atoms are aligned in such a way that the smallest dihedral angle is 0 degree. And what was staggered? The smallest dihedral angle was 60 degree. And what was skew? A conformation whose energy lies in between eclipsed and staggered, and where the bonds on adjacent atoms are aligned in such a way that the smallest dihedral angle is other than theta and 60. Now we know this is staggered and we know this is eclipsed. So obviously you will also notice that in the case of staggered, since the angle has increased from 0, it has gone to 60, the repulsion would be less. So in terms of stability, staggered would have low energy and therefore higher stability, and the eclipsed will have higher energy and therefore high stability. Now you might wonder, then why doesn't ethane always exist as staggered? That's because the energy barrier, the energy required to convert the staggered to eclipsed is so small that it is available with the room temperature itself, which is why one conformation very easily converts to the other, even though the other one may be less stable. And after all, one eclipsed will go to one staggered and one staggered is going to one eclipsed. So whatever is the energy released when the eclipse goes to staggered, even that energy is sufficient for the one staggered to go to eclipsed. But the fact of the matter is, that is not exactly the way it happens, because the room temperature is the one that provides the energy. Otherwise, the amount of staggered and the amount of eclipsed would have been equal. They are not. You will have more staggered forms than eclipsed forms. So therefore, remember, it is the room temperature that provides them with the necessary energy that crosses the energy barrier and converts the staggered into eclipsed. So here the energy barrier is 3 kcal, and this is how it would appear. Free rotation. This is how ethane is behaving. Though in this particular animation you will find that the rotation is very smooth. In reality, the rotation is not going to be smooth because the molecule will spend more time in staggered than it spends on eclipsed, and it will spend different amount of times at different conformations. So it will be a little jerky. But right now I'm just showing you that the fact that one is converting into the other. The next part is, let's check the potential energy change during rotation. We know eclipsed is higher in energy, staggered is lower in energy. So this is the graph. This is the potential energy. This is the angle of rotation. Remember, these angles are not dihedral angles. These are the angles by which I'm rotating them, starting from staggered. So the first thing that I have with me is staggered. Remember, this is the reference molecule, okay? As this rotates, you will see the graph move. So here I have staggered. Can you see? Rotation is happening, graph is moving. Staggered, now eclipsed again, then staggered, it reaches eclipsed, and then it reaches staggered again, and so on. So it's like a sine wave, because there is one conformation highest in energy, one conformation lowest in energy, and all these points in between are different skew conformations having dihedral angles. Is the smallest dihedral angle varying between 0 and 60. And what is the energy barrier? The energy barrier between staggered and eclipsed is 3 kcal in the case of ethane. Now let's try propane. Now what is the difference between propane and ethane? In propane you have one methyl group. Instead of both carbons having 3 hydrogens each, one is a methyl group. So let me just add one more bond to this, one more group, and now you'll notice what I mean. The red one, let's say, is the methyl group, and as you will notice that here the red one is eclipsed with the white, and if I rotate it, now you see the red one is not eclipsed with white. So here the dihedral angle between the red and the white, the smallest dihedral angle is 60, whereas in the previous case it was 0. So again you have eclipsed conformation, and then you have staggered conformation going to eclipsed conformation. And here, of course, since there is a methyl group, and the methyl group will definitely have more barrier or more repulsion because it has got more bonds, and therefore being a bigger group, it will have more torsional strain in the case of eclipsed, and therefore here the energy barrier is a little higher. It is around 3.5 kcal. So 3.5 kcal, and again this is the 3 hydrogens of the back carbon, front groups and front carbon, and they are rotating. Again, remember, it's not a smooth rotation like this. So let's check its energy barrier. So potential energy, again the same logic applies, just like ethane, with the only difference being that you have a methyl group now attached to one of the carbon atoms. So we'll start, this is the reference molecule, this will rotate and we'll take the graph up and down. This is the staggered, eclipsed, again rotate staggered, going up eclipsed, rotating staggered, eclipsed, staggered, and so on. Again a very similar graph, with the only difference that the energy barrier is now 3.5 kcal. Now let's come to something which is more interesting, that is butane. Now in butane, now remember I've got one more hydrogen going away, and this hydrogen is being replaced by another methyl group. Now here you will have 4 types of conformations. So now you have 4 types of conformations. Let's see how. One is when the 2 reds are eclipsed. Other, when the 2 reds are at a dihedral angle of 60. Another, when the 2 reds have a dihedral angle of 120. And another, when the 2 reds have a dihedral angle of 180. So there are 4 unique conformations. Of course, there are infinite conformations in between, but these are the 4 landmarks. So let's see the various conformations. This is the bonds at the back, methyl and 2H. This is the carbon at the back. And again, the front ones are also methyl and H, and right now they're completely eclipsed. And this is, you can either call it completely eclipsed or you can call it syn-periplanar. Now you need to understand this word syn-periplanar. Now what this basically means is that periplanar means we are talking about everything with respect to the 2 methyl groups. Now the 2 methyl groups are superimposing each other. One is at the back, one at the front, eclipsing each other. So they are in the same plane. So whenever the 2 methyls are in the same plane, we call it periplanar. When they're in different plane, we call it clenal. Periplanar when in the same plane, and we call it clenal if they are in different planes. Now let's talk about syn. We say sin when the dihedral angle moves from 0 to 60 degree, including both. It's a closed interval. So when the dihedral angle goes from 0 to 60, we will call it sin. And the dihedral angle is again between the two MEs. So let's rotate by 60 degree. So when we rotate by 60 degree, we get this. Now in common terms, it's called gauche conformation, Gauche. But when it comes to the technical word, now can you see they are not periplanar anymore? The two MEs are not in the same plane, so it's clenal. But the angle is 60, and anything between 0 and 60, including 0 and 60, is called sin. So this is called synclinal, gauche or synclinal. Let's rotate by 60 degree again. Now this one is called partially eclipsed in the common term. And the technical term, what do you think it will be called? Are they in the same plane? No. So they are again clenal. The moment anything goes above 60, it's called anti. So it's anticlinal. So this is either partially eclipsed or anticlinal. Let's rotate by 60 again. And you will notice the angles are 180, but they are now in the same plane. So again, it's periplanar, but the angle is 180. It's called anti-periplanar, or you can call it completely staggered. So now we have two new terms to understand, gauche and partially eclipsed. So let's define them. The gauche conformation is when the large groups are present at an angle with a dihedral angle of 60 degree. And partially eclipsed, where the large groups are not eclipsing each other, but they are eclipsing smaller groups. So it is an eclipsed form, but it's a different kind of an eclipsed form where the large groups don't eclipse each other. And again, now let's look at the potential energy changes. So here you have 4 landmarks. Potential energy changes during rotation of butane. So here is this is the reference molecule. This is the one at the back, carbon at the back, groups at the front. So right now we are looking at completely staggered. We'll start from here and it will keep rotating. So this is completely staggered. So let's start rotating it. 60 degree, stop. What do you think this is? This is partially eclipsed. Rotate by 60 again. It's gauche. Rotate by 60 again. Completely eclipsed. Rotate by 60 again. You get a different gauche, the gauche of the mirror image. 60 again. Partially eclipsed. Again, this is the mirror image of the previous one. And then back to staggered. So as you can see, there are 4 landmarks. One landmark is the one at the bottom. It's completely staggered. Partially eclipsed, gauche, completely eclipsed. And of course, when you rotate them all again, you'll get the same ones again, the mirror images of that. So here the energy barriers between various forms. Staggered to partially eclipsed is 4.5. Gauche to completely eclipsed is 5.1. Gauche to partially eclipsed is 3.1. So what do you think would be staggered, completely staggered to completely eclipsed? So remember, this entire thing is 5.1. So you just need to add this part. Now this is 4.5 and this is 3.1. So if you cut 3.1 from here, what will you get? 4.5 minus 3.1 is going to be 1.4. So add 1.4 to 5.1. So this barrier is 1.4. So 1.4 added to 5.1 is going to give you 6.5. So from completely staggered to completely eclipsed, it's going to be 6.5 energy barrier. Again, this is sufficiently available at room temperature. So based on this, we can take out average values caused by torsional strain and steric strain. So we look at the various interaction, the nature of strain and the energy increase. So remember in ethane, we had all the three hydrogens eclipsing each other and the total energy barrier was 3 kcal. So we can average out and say that for one CH bond to eclipse, it will increase energy by 1 kcal. So if I keep the staggered as 0, and then if I rotate and bring it to eclipsed, in eclipsed I got 3 new torsional strains. There will be no steric strain because the hydrogens are very small. They are not big. So if the hydrogens are small, then obviously there will be no steric strain. There will be only torsional strain. And the CH bonds are aligned. There are 3 of them. So there are 3 torsional strains. And the total energy barrier is 3 kcal. So we can average out and say that for one CH to eclipse, you will have 1 kcal energy increasing. So HH eclipsing, the nature of strain is only torsional and the value is 1 kcal. This is the energy increase. What happens when a CH3 and an H eclipse? Well, here the nature of the strain is both torsional and steric because one group is large. Now in the case of propane, if you noticed, the energy barrier was 3.5. Staggered, if I assume is 0, eclipsed is 3.5. So the additional 0.5 came because of the steric strain. So you can even say, all right, so had it been an H, I would have had a perfect strain of 3 kcal. CH3 gave me 3.5. Now, of course, it's not necessary that the 0.5 is only due to steric strain because the bond of CC and CH itself have changed. But if I were to, for the sake of convenience, omit that part, then you will definitely understand that that 0.5 increment is because of CH3 eclipsing an H. So when a CH3 eclipses an H, it is both torsional and steric, and the total energy barrier due to this alone is 1.5. So CH3, gosh. Now, if you were to look back, let's go back and have a look. If you look back, the gauche conformation is this one. And remember, this barrier is 1.4 because this is 4.5, this is 1.4. So this is 1.4. So when they are gauche, obviously, when they are gauche, it is not going to be torsional at all. It will be purely steric. Because CH3 can show steric even up to 60. 0 to 60, you can have steric if there are large groups. So this steric strain, on an average, ideally it should not have caused anything, but there is some kind of a barrier between staggered, which I can assume is 0, and by going to gauche, there is a slight increase of 1.4. So it is close to 0.9 on an average. So when you look at all molecules on an average, it comes out to be 0.9. So it is purely steric and the energy increases by 0.9 kcal. It's not exact, but this is the averaging part. And when CH3 eclipse, now this one you know. Let's look back. From staggered, which is 0, you have 6.5. So out of 6.5, if you remove 2, because of the 2HH eclipse, the ME torsional strain as well as steric strain is going to be how much? Around 4.5. So on an average, it comes out to be 4. So this is both torsional and steric, and averages to value 4. And remember, all these average values are based on several molecules. So we are basically trying to figure this out. Now, so that takes us to the end of this video. And I hope you were able to understand what was taught here. Go through this video as much as you want, review the class notes and the lecture notes, and try and understand this as much as possible. Now, in the next video, we'll be talking further on conformational isomers. We'll talk about some more details that we have not covered. This is the basic introduction of that. So we'll look at various other situations. So far, we have only seen the staggered to be most stable, but that's not true in every case. There is something called a gauche effect that we'll see in the next one, and where in some cases the gauche conformation ends up being more stable than the staggered conformation. And then we'll realize that all that we have talked about right now, repulsion between the bonds, is probably not all of the reasons that makes staggered more stable than eclipsed. So that is for the next video. I hope this video is something which you were able to understand. This is basically an introduction. So with that, we come to the end of this video. Thank you so much for watching. Have a nice day.